Hi there, everybody, and welcome to Roll with Advantage, and welcome to this brand new show, Party Thoughts. So, if you hadn't heard before in the update video, Party Thoughts is a show where we're going to go into a specific arc from a specific campaign and really get a deep dive into it, right? We're going to go into the most important and most impactful arcs in the three different campaigns, the Tales of Evrand, the Isles of Oberyon, and the Salamander Coast. And we are starting, very first episode, it only seems right that we start with one of the most impactful arcs in the RWA campaigns, which was the Oberyon Blackmoor arc. It had a profound impact on every single character, whether it be direct from Oberyon or be through a ripple effect through his actions. There is a lot to talk about when it comes to Oberyon, and I'm going to kind of throw all of you a curveball because we're not starting with your questions. There's one question that I wanted to start with right off the bat to initially dive into everything. So I want everybody to think for a moment. All right, let's dive into a hypothetical right off the bat. So it is undeniable that Oberyon was so impactful, right? Probably one of the best villains that I've seen in a D&D campaign that I've played in. He's fantastic, and that's not to disparage the Demogorgon at all. The Demogorgon is great, but he has not yet had time to percolate like Oberyon has. So for all of you, I want you to think about a very, very specific scenario, okay? It is the end of the arc, right? Right, the final battle happens. We fight Oberyon, and Yrsa impales him with the thorns, and he is taking his last dying breaths. And in that moment, he seeks forgiveness. In that moment, so close to death, where he is about to crumble into dust, right? All hypothetical. He seeks forgiveness. He realizes in that moment, now that he's so close to death, he's so close to losing it, the relationship with his son and daughter broken beyond repair. He wants to try and fix that before eventually he fades away. In that moment, he begs for forgiveness. He wants a second chance. There is a quote that, or a turn of phrase that's really overused, I think, and that's when you stare into the void long enough, the void stares back. And I think for me, that is such a compelling phrase to use in comparison to Oberyon, because to me, I see it so closely connected to Oberyon, because when you stare into that void, right, when you are on that precipice of anguish and depression and fear and anger, when you stare into that pool for so long, it can consume you, right? It's staring back. Is it sinking its teeth into you? And it doesn't let go. And I think Oberyon was there, right? The teeth were sunk in, and there was no letting go of it. But perhaps there maybe was a path of redemption for him. So for each one of your characters, let's just say the decision relied on you, right? Yrsa jammed the spikes through him. He was taking that last breath. The radiant energy was descending upon him. And for some reason in this parallel universe, it was your character's call, whether we spared Oberyon or whether we killed him in that moment. But he asked for forgiveness. And John, obviously you didn't have a player character in this race. So the question for you is, if a character spared him, right? If somebody decided, you know what, guys, let's give Oberyon a second chance, would he have stayed on that path? Or would he maybe have swayed back into his deep, dark ways that he found himself in if things didn't exactly go his way? So because this is not a question I prepped all of you for, I'll go ahead and go first as Rian. It's simple for Rian. Rian said it before in the arc, and I'll say it again. By the time that everything happened, right? Gideon's first death, I mean, everything that he learned about not only Kyrian and Ophelia, but Celia and Gabriel, right? All of that stuff. And he felt so bad for Oberyon because of what he went through. But by the time that everything shook down, Rian really believed that Oberyon was more monster than man. That, sure, he maybe could have found a path to goodness, but it would have been a long and hard one, and it seemed like it wasn't something he genuinely wanted. Rian was in a very very, very similar spot. And through Yursa's love, at the time when they first met, it was more platonic. And so I think that, Yrsa could have had an impact on him, but to Rian, it seemed like Oberyn didn't want that. So if it was Rian's choice in that moment, I don't think he would have, even if Oberyn asked to be spared, right? Because Oberyn Blackmoor is a little bit different than Lot. There's a bit of a difference between those two characters.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah. So that's what I'd say for Rian. I think that even if he would have asked for forgiveness, I think Rian would have done it out of pity. And for that, Rian knows that that's not why you do things. That's not why you give people a second chance. It's not out of pity or fear. It's because you believe they can be better. So that's what I'd say Rian is, what his reasoning for. Has anybody thought of an answer for what they believe?
Yeah. I would say for Basil, it's the idea of someone could ask for forgiveness and they may actually mean it. They may truly want to be better. But it's at that point where you have to sit and think, it's like, well, it's gotten as worse as it could be. And even if this person truly means that they want to be a better person, at that point, they've already committed all of these horrible acts against people, and you can forgive someone, and this all relates to a campaign. You can forgive someone, but still recognize that they need to not exist.
Yeah. Oh.
Damn.
That's tough. And that makes a lot of sense for Basil too. Like, why she would have that opinion, all things considered. I really like that. I really like that idea. Right. Yeah. Nick, I saw you kind of give a little
did a little finger.
Yeah, you did a little fingy.
Little finger. Yeah, I think I was misinterpreting your question at first. I think Gak would absolutely forgive Oberyn, but he wouldn't spare him. Because I think there's a difference in if Oberyn was begging to be spared at the end of his life, then that would have been like a no. But if Oberyn, as he was dying, he was like, I'm so sorry. And like, he knows like, there's no way I can be spared. So there'd be no reason for him to lie in that last moment. Yeah. Like if he was just truly just like, this sucked. I suck. Gak would have been like, I'm sorry you suck. You're right though. And you know,
that sucks.
But like Gak would have forgiven him, but he wouldn't have spared him because there is a point where you don't come back from, and you can feel remorse, and it can be genuine. But you know, he just did too much. We gave him too many chances.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I think for Enid, especially coming from like a different perspective, as helping them defeat Oberyn was kind of like her gateway into getting to know and care about the party and go through a perilous journey with them and be connecting with them. But what I can say is at that point, Enid hadn't really gotten through like the part of her facing what she and Rian had gone through, especially with Alano, which was more of a turning point. So depending on when certain things may have happened, there is a possibility of her even sparing his life because she saw herself as a monster and needing a second chance as well. Kind of similar to Rian, but I think she was a little bit, she at least still at this point in her life still sees that ugly side of her as something so recent and like prevalent. But I would say, like, at the same time, Gideon had died, and she, if anyone kills anyone in this party, she's like, you're gonna fucking die. Like, I don't care how sorry you are, you removed them from existence, and I want to kill you. So I think at the end of the day, no matter what, with that like, with her connection to the party and how she feels, like, so protective, because, like, with Rian and everything, losing the ones you love, matters a huge deal. So no, I don't think she would have at that point. I don't think she would have forgiven him. I think she would have wanted. This is sad, but she would have been like, live with it. No, I don't give a fuck. And you're gonna die. So anyway, everyone else is so much sweeter.
Well, at that point, she was still Umbra too. You know, like
yeah.
Enid didn't exist at that point.
No,
just as a side note, that's one of the things I really like about the growth of Umbranid of Umbra to Enid is that it really seems like two different characters. So I like the idea that Umbra would have been like, yeah, fuck you, dick, and like just killed him. But then Enid would have maybe been able to give that forgiveness. I think that's a really interesting.
There is potential if things had happened in a different timeline, totally potential, but not at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Yeah, cool. And then John, if in this hypothetical he did do that, which I didn't even think there would have been a possibility for that, just because he was ready to be reunited with his wife. But would he have stayed on the path of good if somebody did give him a second chance, or would he have fallen back in the ways of the deep dark vampire lord?
I think that if he was forgiven and was allowed to be kept alive, he would have tried, especially since Yrsa is the first person Oberyn had a connection with since his wife, like this person that showed him kindness and was there for him. So already up until that point, there was already something slightly changing in him, but not to a point of like stopping him from his goals and his ideals. He'd been in that funk, that darkness for hundreds of years. But had he been allowed to be alive, he would have tried, but probably eventually, especially if nobody was with him, he would have just sunk back into it.
Oh, man. Yeah.
That's sad.
That is very sad. I mean,
Well,
it's
good thing we didn't do that, right?
Yeah, good thing we didn't spare his ass. Oh my God. No, I get
at
it.
the end of his life, he did say sorry.
Did he?
When he was dying, he looked at Yrsa, I remember, and was like,
"Oh, that's right.
I'm sorry."
Right.
Yeah. See, but I think that I didn't interpret that as I'm sorry for what I did. I interpreted that as I'm sorry for what I did to you.
To you.
Yeah, it was more towards Yrsa.
Yeah.
But it was in that same moment of like faced with actual death, especially with who Oberyn is, someone who cannot die, actually having that realization that he was dying. Of like what Nick said, I'm a shitty person. I was a shitty person. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die a shitty person.
Yeah.
So like that brings up an interesting question then. Like, and I think that Baldur's Gate 3 makes my mind think this way, but like it's established in there, and I'm assuming it's the same way in Evrand, that mind flayers don't have souls, right? When you become an Illithid, your soul dissolves, it goes away. For vampires, though, I know that can vary from lore to lore. So in the world of Evrand, like when Oberyn died, like does he get to be reunited with his wife, or does his soul just kind of fade away and he just goes into like nothingness and the void?
So in the lore of Evrand, vampires have a soul, a very small amount of a soul. But what happens when someone is turned into a vampire is that soul is absolutely corrupted to evil. It is pure evil. They can't even try to fight against the urge, especially if you're recently turned. As time goes on, you become smarter and stuff, kind of like Oberyn was, but still, you're evil. It's just the nature of things. However, when Oberyn died, he did not get to see his wife.
Oh.
There's another question in here, but the way he was turned was through a deal.
Oh, it wasn't like something happened to him where he was corrupted, but it was something he did willingly.
So Oberyn, in my lore, is the first vampire. He was created during the Calamity, like right as it started. But he lived in the Age of Arcanum. He was a scholar in the Age of Arcanum. who became obsessed with knowledge and power, but
Yeah.
not in the way of someone who's evil, just realizing the potential of humans. He was a human before, realizing what they could do.
Mhm.
When he had a disease and he was near the end of his life, a voice called out to him and said, "I can make you immortal."
Mm.
And that voice was Merkel.
Ooh, interesting.
So
I like that.
when Oberyn died, just kind of how like you guys have seen Demogorgon
Mhm.
rend their property back to themselves. Oberyn was taken back.
Mm.
That's rough stuff. That
Damn.
Woo. Well, speaking of death, I think for everybody, except for maybe Yrsa, just because she is the best of us, I think that everybody pretty much would have said, nah. Oberyn needs to get the axe. Like he needs to die. I don't know for Kayla from Yrsa's perspective, but I think that for so long she tried. So I think that if he sought forgiveness, maybe. But I think that for a lot of us, the point of no return was killing Gideon. So let's relive that painful moment together,
Oh, God.
shall we?
Sure thing.
Oh my
I
god.
remember
Look at this!
So very well.
Overlay part 2. All right, here we go. The death of Gideon. Oh, and Ryan's camera is on too. Oh god, this is
Yeah.
gonna be painful.
This is a great
there's-
moment. I watched it back today.
There are so many squares on the screen.
Oh man. All right, and we got a drum set too. That's awesome. All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Team, that is a fail.
Yeah, I know.
Gideon, fucking headphones are about to die.
Any final words, Ryan?
Oh god, he's joking. I hate that.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a prediction of what I think is about to happen in our.
I think I know
gonna
what the
miss
prediction
Gideon. He
was. Power
fun.
word kill.
Ryan's just eating his mac and cheese like it's no big deal. Yeah, that.
This is just a regular
Oh,
Wednesday
Yeah,
evening. You
I
know?
was like, well, I was like, if you have to roll damage, the prediction is wrong.
I was
That's
like, he
good.
really should have whipped that out a lot sooner if he had it.
I legitimately thought that's what was gonna happen with Gak at the very
Oh my
beginning. I was gonna be like, holy shit, that would have been crazy.
Gideon, as you say these words to Oberyn, he turns around. Last words. Anger in
This
his
is so
eyes,
good.
in his face, and he points towards you,
Oh,
and you see
God.
a sickly green beam of energy shoot in your direction.
Look at Ryan's face.
You take
He knows
76
exactly what it is.
points of force damage. And you all watch as
Look-
Gideon turns into dust as he casts Disintegrate.
Oh,
But Joe, everyone's face.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Rachel.
Kayla is just like,
Yeah, Kayla's
Didn't know
like,
he had
Kayla's
that.
ready to fight.
I,
I
fucking
feel like
hate
that's
that
Kayla
spell
getting
so
ready to
much.
like go
yeah,
hands.
That's the third time I've been
Joe
really
looks
bad
like
at
he's
drive
just
my house.
contemplating.
I
so
just
much.
am. Oh God, because in my head I'm like, Ryan, why'd you say that? Why'd you say
I
that?
know.
Fucking idiot.
Okay, but guys, this is the beginning of Disintegrate being his iconic spell though.
Yeah. Now
Like
he uses
that-
it in every combat.
every session.
Yeah. No, it is a
Listen, trauma will do that to you.
yeah, man. Trauma has a wild effect on you.
Just like kids whose parents were mean to them, they get mean to their kids. That's just how it works.
God.
I don't know.
Circle of life.
Next question.
Yeah, circle of life, you know.
Speaking of,
Also, I will say real quick,
yeah,
I
go
listened
ahead.
on the stream just for a second, and I think the video should be turned up a little tiny bit next time.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
But you could still hear it. It was just a little
Yeah, we're
quiet.
probably just talking a lot.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I'll turn it up for the next one. Thank you. But I did actually, Nick, you bring up a great segue to a new question. Parents being mean to their kids. So, Rachel, we'll start with you. We'll start with Basil's conflict in Eldon because she was not alone in Eildon. She had family there.
Mhm.
So question from John. This arc took place in Eildon, Basil's home, on top of having to deal with the Blackmoors and having to deal with her family. How did it
Mhm.
affect Basil having to go back to a place she never wanted to return to? And how did you balance those two stories as a character? I think that the relationship between Vasadi and her dad, I loved seeing those grow. So what was it like as a player trying to balance those two with this like looming threat overhead?
Mhm. Um, I tried to kind of play it as realistically as possible. A lot of it was some of it like what would Rachel do if she was in this position? Um, and I let that lead most of how Basil reacted to everything from as soon as she got to Eildon and up until like after they killed the father, and then Basil and Vasadi now have this close relationship. It's because, like, family can be so complex, and you can realize, like, okay, so even though, this person is also a victim, which made us kind of enemies due to that shared victimhood, I think Basil kind of came to realize that she wasn't the only one who had to be strong growing up, and it was just one of those things where Vasadi had to deal with it the way that she did, just
Mhm.
as Basil did her way.
Yeah.
And I think coming back, because she still left when she was pretty young and she grew up a lot, um it's easier for her to empathize and really think about other people now, especially being a cleric. So it was more so hating her whole family on like just to be petty at this point. Um, it's like, well, I've hated them this long, why would I stop? And then as soon as she got to Eildon and seeing her sister, granted, Basil was thrown in jail.
Mhm.
Didn't like her at that point, but as soon as they had that first real conversation, and John was he's amazing at playing Vasadi, just because he and I have like a great banter that we always can do.
Mhm.
And at that moment, I was going off how John was playing her, and she came to realize, it doesn't have to be just me. So I think that's like kind of what Rachel would do in that situation. And it was very therapeutic, I would say, to go through that whole family arc.
Yeah.
But after kind of figuring out that her dad was related to the problem, she became even more invested in the bigger storyline with Oberyn, because it was like, what, I think her dad was like helping fund like Oberyn's plans, if I remember.
No, it was your father assisted in the attack on Eildon
Oh, that's right. I was
15
thinking
years prior, I believe.
Mhm.
right. For some reason, I was thinking Oberyn and the dad were still
They were going
somewhat-
on at the same time.
Yeah,
I-
that's probably why it was. But, it's probably that relation between like someone setting off this horrible person in middle of one of the bigger cities, and just watching it happen and then deciding to leave and not do or say anything about it. And then
Yeah.
this time it's a very similar situation,
Mhm.
just with vampirs. And
Did
so
do
she's like, well,
vampies.
I can't
Yeah.
do it a second time or else I'll really be an asshole. So
Yeah.
it just led from one small little snowball to a big
Mhm.
packed thing of emotions. And
Yeah.
it was really fun to kind of try to balance that and see
Yeah.
how it turned out.
I think you as a player handled it really beautifully. Like I think that
Thank
there was
you.
a lot of elegance on your end to make sure that like the main villain of the arc was getting a lot of good attention, but anytime that we had interaction with Basil's dad or her sister or any of that like subplot, because it was part of the way overarching plot,
Mhm.
I think that you did it really, you and John both did it really well. And I think that there was a nice balance there.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. But there is not only one dysfunctional family. In fact, there is one very functional family in the Tales of Evrand, Gak's family. And I think that Gak's upbringing is one of the most, I'm gonna say, unique, and I think that's very true in this case. One of the most unique I've seen in a D&D campaign.
Yes.
But I think it's attributed to Gak being a boulder for the party. And this is kind of going off of Felicity's question for you, but a lot of people went through emotional arcs during the Oberyn stuff, and Gak was kind of the one of the steady ones at the time. So considering Gak's upbringing, his family, the unconditional love he received from his family, and the emotional intensity that had not just with Basil's family, but with Oberyn as well, do you think that had like a really distinct impact on Gak, that arc, and seeing the way these different families interacted with each other?
Not really. Next question. No.
Okay, so we have
yeah. I think I don't know. It's interesting because Gak's family is very supportive, and I liked the idea of a D&D character that didn't have really any trauma in his backstory that he knew of. His family had trauma, but he didn't. And he was always like the baby of the family, but he also was the shoulder to lean on. Like when his mom would be mad at his dad, she'd talk to him and be like, "Can you believe what he's doing?" Like, I know, right? And he's always had that kind of like confidant relationship with people because he's just easy to talk to. But I think being in this situation is obviously more intense than anything he's ever been in. And he didn't notice it at the time because he was very stressed and he wanted to make sure. But looking back on that, I think he's really proud of himself for he went through that and he stayed true to himself and was still able to help people and didn't let things get to him. And like, I think that he's like, oh, I actually can help people. Like, I'm able to be this person for people no matter the situation. And I do think that really did change him because he's always wanted to help people, but he feels so inexperienced in life that he didn't think he was able to help people to the extent that they needed because they've been through more stuff than him. So how could he? He'll just be there if they need to talk, like that kind of thing. Yeah. And I think that he realized like, oh, you don't necessarily have to have experienced the thing this person has experienced in order to help them get through it.
Yeah. And I really do love that because to answer the question you put for me, it really, I always have had a dream in playing D&D as a player and being able to be that sort of like rock emotional support. But like, same as when you're that person in your friend group, you know, it can be really overwhelming, you know, to be that person for Basil, right? To be that father figure and to care for her so much. And then to be that support for Yrsa because Yrsa was always that person for him for the past like 4.5, 5 years. And then to be that person for Gideon, who just came back from the dead, you know? I mean, they're, and nobody else was involved. So at that point, and then Enid coming in, right? Or Umbra, and then learning all of that was so much weight to handle. And I and Rian both were so appreciative of Gak for being that person to quote Samwise Gamgee from Lord of the Rings, to share the load. Like, it was so nice to have him to do that. And I love it so much because of how different their support is, but it's still the same, you know?
Yeah. And it feels like they both went on spirals at separate times. Like they were there to counteract each other.
Yeah.
When Rian was starting to be like, this guy, like, that's when Gak takes the step forward. And I don't know, it was interesting because from the first session, Rian and Gak had a very playful relationship that kind of felt a little sibling-ish.
Yeah.
But like,
I think that's a lot because of us, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it's definitely because of us. But I like that relationship has stuck through especially when, I mean, siblings stick together. Like there's a lot of parallels that just came to be, and a lot of it's influenced by our real relationship. But I liked seeing them both step up when needed. They both can be goofy when it's fine. Like they can read each other.
Yeah, and I think that there's like on a surface level, like you might compare just because of Gak's like naive nature, you might be like, oh, like father and son, but I don't think I've ever thought of it that way. It's really just like two brothers, and I really like a much like an older brother and a younger brother who are like 10 years apart.
Much older.
Yeah. Like where I barely grew up in the same house as you, you know? Like,
exactly. But you were the older brother who could take Gak to see R-rated movies.
Yeah.
And get ice cream afterwards.
Hey,
without
don't tell
the
mom,
parents
all right?
around.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, obviously, there's a reason why I wanted to bring up a question for Gak and not for Gak, for Nick about Gak and for Rachel about Basil, because within a span of 2 sessions, and this is no mystery to anybody who's watched 20 minutes of Evrand, we have a tendency to go from dreadful, serious drama to, excuse me, what the fuck is going on right now? So there's 2 clips I'd like to watch back to back. Granted that we're an episode apart, but in the same area. So let's see Basil and her dad reunite in jail, and then let's watch a clip about throwing an octopus up against the wall. Huh? Why don't we do
I love that clip.
Let me go ahead and video watch.
Look at our Halloween outfits.
You guys
Look
are
at the Lady Gem clothes.
Yes.
Oh my god.
It's so
When I was
good.
the book.
Yeah.
That's a book, man.
Hey, that's the thing that I used in the point of no return video.
Yeah.
Oh man.
God, I look so uncomfortable. I was.
And I like how only 2 people are still in their costumes by the halfway point of the video.
Yeah.
The
I wasn't
commitment
getting
there.
out of it.
We had to commit.
Oh man. All right, here we go. The confrontation of Basil between her and her father.
Father, so lovely to see you again.
And what do I have the pleasure of you returning home?
Oh, you know, shits and giggles.
And how's that working out?
Oh, pretty good. I've never been in prison. You know, something to add to my bucket list, I guess you could say.
Joe just eating. Well, it seems that your bucket list is ending here. Because you'll be imprisoned here for the rest of your days.
If you say so, Roland.
So serious.
So serious. I'm curious.
You also look so good,
why
Rachel.
are
I
you
can't
here?
stop.
You could have lived out your life. What, in that shitty town? I heard where you've been.
You see, I was actually doing something with my life. Doing good, helping people, making a difference, not keeping myself in power through means that are less than honorable.
Oh, I could have been such a bitch. I should have.
And that seems to
I
be
could have
working
been
out
meaner.
very well for you.
Yes.
It's okay.
Um,
we got it.
I mean, you
back when
killed
you
him,
killed
so.
Yeah.
Congrats on catching.
Yeah, it's just, I love it because there's just so much vitriol and tension between the 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then
and then we got.
And then we got this.
I look so disheveled. Oh my god.
I was having a bad week.
When was this? November 17th?
year ago?
Yes, I was. Yeah. Yes, I was.
Yrsa would put her tentacle to her beak to hush the boys.
The Mission Impossible music.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, underneath
Squeezes
her.
the beak
Swoop,
back.
We need
through.
another heist session.
We do.
And then she'll wave them forward, but signaling to be quiet, but waving forward with the tentacle.
For everyone watching,
And then,
Yrsa is an
like, this
octopus
is so
right now. That
fucking
wasn't.
cartoon, but like pointing to her eyes,
An aqua.
wherever the fuck those are, and then pointing to the wall.
That's an octopus.
Yes.
We're We're breaking Basil out of prison.
Yeah, so
and
she-
yours is an octopus. Dude.
She just had that conversation with her dad the previous session, and then Ursa's.
Oh, I should cut my hair again.
And then she's gonna start moving to like throw her octopus back against the wall.
Her what?
And my favorite part is moving on a little bit after that. There, in part of the prison break, Gak puts Ursa on his head,
Yes.
and then like confuses the guards by like, hey.
Wasn't there a part where like you guys like oiled up one of the stairs or like a mop bucket or something fell down, and then one of the guards fell down, and you guys were like, "We just killed a guard."
Yeah, he definitely died.
Oh
Fell
my
down all the
God.
stairs.
I even remember Gak. I think it was it minor illusion to create a bigger voice or something like that. But I have a picture that I made of the quote he said when the octopus was on his head, and it's trying. I don't know why it's not
Oh
loading.
yeah, I do remember that. I cannot for the life of me remember what it was either.
Whenever this picture loads, I'm getting the pinwheel of death over here on this Mac.
No,
Probably because I have Twitch open and Discord. And all that.
Yeah, but at least in Discord you get fun little things you can do.
Sometimes. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there it goes.
There it is.
All right. Well, I just love that because, you know, any D&D game is like that, but especially so in Evrand. I now want to transition a little bit to focus on the newbie of the group at this time. As before we ask you, let's go ahead and actually let's watch the Enid introduction once more.
Oh gosh, I didn't watch this one beforehand. I don't remember which one. This
So good.
Before you play this clip,
Yeah.
can I just say, Felicity did such an amazing job with just collaborating with me on how to like get her character in the game. Like we made a whole ass like adventurers guild with NPCs, and she in this clip like says the name of one of the NPCs that's talking. That never the name doesn't get said. It's just Felicity was, you know, taking notes and stuff. It was so good.
It was.
That's all.
It's really funny because I remember this moment so specifically because like I think we all kind of knew that Felicity, like Enid Umbra, was gonna be in the adventuring guild. And so we walk in and you're like, all right, so how are you guys gonna find the guild master? And I went, hey, you. I'm just pointing at somebody at a table. Hey, where's the adventure master? Like, where's the guild master? And they went, oh, fuck off. And then, boom, Enid pops up, be like, hey, let me help you.
I got you.
So let's check it out. Let's see. Let me turn this up. And let's see the introduction of Umbra.
A little chip on my hat.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Hopefully,
yeah.
we're looking for Strix, the guild master.
All right. And he goes back to his.
Yeah. Wait, no.
As Zovak turns Rian down, you guys hear some footsteps coming up from behind you, and she'll say, "You need to see Strix." And then as you turn around, you'll see a moon elf with long blue hair. She's got the typical like moon elf markings on her eyes. Very
Queen.
pale.
Oh my goodness.
She's wearing roguelike armor. It's
I'm wearing the
extended
same
leather,
sweatshirt right now. As
Oh,
I am
are
right
you?
now.
going up her right arm, covering the whole thing, and on her left hand she has a very detailed tattoo. It's just kind of a design, not of anything in particular. No design that anyone would notice.
Oh.
She has very fair blue eyes,
Ominous.
but is carrying no weapons on her at all. So she'll just say, "What do you need to see Strix for?"
That's personal business.
We were sent by
that
the
could-
council.
Personally, be my business here, real quick.
The sexual tension.
The tension
well, if it
between
is,
the
if you could
two.
direct us in his way, we would appreciate it. We were sent by Cornelius.
Cornelius. Okay. Sure. Yeah, right this way, and she'll start to lead you guys towards.
Small beginnings, honestly.
Basil sure knows how to make a first impression.
Yeah, that was the first impression. And Ian was like, okay,
She was
okay,
like, damn,
okay,
Shawty.
all right,
Damn,
all right.
girl.
Damn, girl.
Basil's like all of the guys in like elementary school. That's like, if I like someone, I should be mean to them. Wow, she's really
Listen,
cute. Why do you want to see
Basil's from the
Strix? None of your
streets of-
fucking business.
Get the
Basil's
fuck
from the street. That's all she knows.
She's from the street.
Yeah. Oh, and Duke, yes, the Ursa art is wild. Ursa went through a situation, which we will
She
watch
went through a
later
lot.
because
it was a
it
big
is.
situation.
Woo. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. But we
She
watched
was
that
just
intro.
walking around like that,
Yeah, she.
and we were all just like, "Yep, this is our friend. It's fine."
Like creeping down the street.
Got that? What is that? Like the scary dog energy? That's how was Ursa.
Yes, scary
Yeah.
dog privilege.
So, question for you, Felicity, from Rachel, which I think is a really interesting one. After joining Evrand at the Oberyon arc, do you like having joined where you did? As it's always hard joining a campaign partway through. And do you think Enid could have possibly changed any of the events if she was there from the start? Like, what do you think her impact could have been from the beginning? I definitely think it would have changed the Rian-Enid relationship, but what do you think? Like, where's your mind at with that?
Yeah, I mean, I like where we joined or where I joined, just because I was really excited to join. But if I were at the beginning of the arc, I actually do feel like it would have been different, but it would have been different in the relationships, I think, mostly between her and Ursa and her and Basil. Just because I think it would have been interesting being there for Basil as Basil's going through everything with her father instead of right at the end, which is kind of like a little bit of an introduction where she was like, okay, so Basil's got that going on and getting to know her. Yeah. And so, I mean, she couldn't really judge. She's like, yeah, I'm still carrying all my baggage. So, yeah. So, and I'm not exactly sure how that would have manifested. I think it would have just been maybe instead of Basil being the one that helped Enid kind of come out of a funk, it would have been more Enid helping Basil come out of a funk, and then it would have eventually kept pivoting that way. But even like with the relationship with Yrsa, because I think what is interesting that would have been really cool is if the redemption arc for Oberyn and the redemption arc for Enid ended up being mirrored, and if Yrsa, obviously everybody in the party would have been impactful in that, but I think since Yrsa had such a she was such a force of nature for Oberyn, I think that would have ran over into Enid, because I think Enid would have been like, wow, that's interesting, and like she probably would have opened up with Yrsa more about it, and I think potentially it could have been more of a combined thing there for the two of them that I would have loved to see. But I mean, it happens, you know? And so that would have, I don't know if the events would have changed a huge amount. Yeah, I mean, unless John thinks that there's something in particular that I would have thrown a wrench in, like, or if you guys could be like, if Felicity was there. I mean, breaking Basil out of jail, I would have loved to have been able to do that.
That would have been fun.
It would have been easy
been
mode.
as funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been as
For the party,
goofy.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, but that would have been so hot though. That would have been so romantic. Oh my god.
She just comes up to, let me
But
in.
would that have been for Enid at the time? Because she really just wanted to kill Rian. She was quite literally there just to stab him.
What do you think
Right.
the beginning of the Oberyn arc was? Because I mean, I was thinking not Eildon. Wait, what was the city where, what's her face? The girl, Edina, dropped them off at? Because I always considered that the
Wilbrecht.
beginning of the Oberyn. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I figured unless we wanted to sit on that confrontation with the two of them for super long, like, by the time Basil would have been in jail, I feel like
Things
Enid
would have-
and
yeah.
Rian would have already gotten over at least the initial, like, I'm gonna kill you stage.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
because it definitely,
Yeah.
because it's not like the road to redemption between those two was a long one. It was just, it was a very fast confrontation, very explosive. But then, you know, I mean, Rian wasn't lying. You know, he didn't know. He was also hurt, and so I think that because Umbra at the time was also hurt, I think she was emotional and rational at the same time. Because if she was too emotional, she would have just been like, I don't care what you say. Just stab him, you know? But she didn't, right? She heard his words and was like, okay, fuck.
Yeah. I don't think, and I honestly don't think, there's a single, like, alternate dimension where Enid/Umbra would have killed Rian, like, outright. I don't think she would have had it in her, because she still saw him as family. No matter how emotional or angry she was and how much she at the time blamed him for it, she never would have killed him without wanting to hear what he had to say. And unless there was an evil Rian in this alternate dimension, you know,
Who knows?
Yeah. She wanted, deep down, she wanted to be okay and everything, and she's always wanted that, and blah blah blah, the gooey shit. Lame. So
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Real quick, do you have any, just because it's something that you just did and we're talking about right now, do you have any advice to people who are joining a campaign partway through about creating a character? Just because I think that's a pretty common situation in a lot of D&D groups.
Yeah, so I think definitely you got to look at what the party needs, because I thought you guys needed a paladin. So my original idea was a paladin. And then my original idea was an astral elf, because we were like, oh my gosh, John and I were like, that'd be so cool. And then he was like, never mind. And I was like, I'll figure it out, don't worry. So that's why I went with rogue, because I wanted something to like support the heavy hitters, since we were getting another sorcerer, because also it was a combination of someone was changing their class after a character had died and changing their race. So I think as far as like a mechanical sense, just what is missing or what can be benefited, because like really there's nothing missing from this party. You guys were really well balanced the whole time. But as far as like a rogue can just like benefit from like backup, can either be like mid-range or up front if need be. And we have too many spellcasters. We did not need more spells. But that's as far as like the mechanical shit. Because we have a pretty charismatic group too, honestly. So even that wasn't a part that needed to be filled. But as far as roleplay, make your character care in whatever way you can. Even like, she didn't know Oberyn should have a personal connection, but the one thing I liked was his son, who I can't remember, Alucard. Gabriel. Sorry, that's a little too much of the inspiration.
He was basically Alucard.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, oh, it's Alucard, Gabriel. I was like, okay, he's losing a father, or he has lost a father already. Like, however you want to see it, as in like he either never had one, blah blah blah, doesn't have a mom. So she's like, damn, and it's like, you know, his whole life's turned around. She's like, I can relate to that because of her backstory. So I wanted to make a connection there. The whole redemption arc thing and appreciating that in the other characters. I tried to make familial like thread ties and things, and then so look at your group that you're coming into and don't expect. I got lucky because someone wanted to share a backstory with me. Thank you, Joe. But I would say never go into a campaign knowing you're going to be the main character, because you're not. It's a team game. But number two, you're going to have more fun if you're able to weave in what's already going on instead of forcing your DM to pull a whole nother thing. So like, yeah, we have the moon stuff going on, but that's with the rifts. Like, that is something John is, and honestly, John made that connection on his own. Like, I think moon was mostly John's inspiration. I remember, sorry, well, I know we need to move on, but I remember you're like, she should have talking to herself thing. And I was like, everyone's going to think I'm so crazy. I was so nervous to be talking to myself, John. It was really fun, but I'm not going to lie, that was hard.
It was funny.
I'm glad people liked it.
I
'Cause
was
it's
messaging her in Discord what Moon was saying in her head, and she was responding to it in game. It was so good. It was so good.
It was really
And
good.
then-
It was very fun. And as somebody who's been in a lot of different campaigns, it was nice to have something to keep things fresh. So it's like a challenge for me too. So that's fun. But otherwise, like again, at the end of the day, it's a team game. You're not the main character, and you're gonna have a whole lot more fun if you can build a connection with what's already going on. And if your DM's inspired by something, honestly, say yes. Because if your DM's excited about it, it's gonna be really cool. Even if
Yeah.
you're like, oh my god, I don't know if I can talk to myself. It was cool as fuck. Like everyone try it. Like it was so fun. So
Everyone
just
talk to yourself. Never mind
yeah.
yourself.
So
Everyone try it.
anyway,
good
I
advice.
just it's role of improv, yes and this applies for D&D too, even when you're planning things, yes and. So just grow off of what's already there.
Yeah. Awesome. I agree. Nick, you were gonna say something about the
Oh, I was just gonna say, the like private talk between Moon and Enid, and then the moment that Gak was able to also
Yeah.
hear Moon. That was a really fun moment because we just had to go into like
We just had to
everyone had
figure
to
it
like
out.
deafen themselves in the chat and like not look at Twitch. It was crazy. It was a really really crazy moment, but it was fun
It
to
was fun.
have that.
No, I absolutely agree. It was a lot of fun. Just overall, such a good introduction for a new character that was really strong. Really strong introduction for her. Okay, alrighty. Moving on from Enid, Umbra, Felicity. Let's go ahead and John, for you, I think it's really interesting because, you know, there's a lot of different ways, and it's something that you and I were talking about today. Like, where does the Oberyn arc start? And I think that we for this question, I want to include Kyrian and Ophelia because it was one of Ryan's original ones. But I always thought Lazarus, although he was the short end of the short end of the stick, the blunt end of the joke. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. He was the butt of the joke. There we go.
There
A
you
lot of the time, he was a really cool villain. Like I think he was too cool, right? So we were like, this fucking guy.
Side villain.
But like, obviously Oberyn put a lot of trust in Lazarus because he seemed to be one of like the higher ranking guys. And he also must have put a lot of trust into Kyrian and Ophelia. So what was their relationship like between Lazarus and Kyrian and Ophelia? And by that extension, like, how did Celia and Gabriel feel about these two like surrogate children, you know, that Oberyn was pretending to be his kids? Like, what was that family relationship like? Because it seemed hella dysfunctional.
It was intended. Obviously, Gabriel and Celia from playing was Oberyn's first children through his wife Sophia, and then they became estranged after everything happened. And then Oberyn cast out Gabriel. Celia was still around, but Oberyn had to grow his family, so he started turning people. And some of those first people that he did turn were Kyrian, Ophelia, and Lazarus. Kyrian and Ophelia were actually brother and sister. Lazarus was a close friend of the two, but also was hitched up with Ophelia. They were lovers. So, when Ophelia was killed, that is the reason Lazarus targeted the party so hard. He was so angry at Ophelia's death that he was trying to kill you guys. That was the whole plot line of that. Very dysfunctional family, very, you know, they're vampires. They got some
It's giving
weird,
Twilight.
Okay.
But I don't mind that.
No,
that was-
we're all friends of that here. So
That was the connection between all of them.
He should have protected his girl.
Yeah, he should have been there.
He was
Yeah, he
stationed with
should've been.
Oberyn.
A better boyfriend.
Damn.
It's
Yeah.
not an excuse. Am I right, husbands in here?
Yeah.
Hey.
POV, your hand.
So,
Oh my God.
That was the relationship.
Okay, awesome. I love that. What I want to do now is I want to look at a specific moment because I really want all of us to be super uncomfortable as we watch Kayla scream and yell at Oberyn, because I think that it was
Oh, this makes me cry.
it was one of my favorite moments. So I'm telling you this now. I'm gonna be asking your favorite moment for your character specifically. So I think, I don't want to speak for Kayla at all, but I think this was one of her most favorite, least favorite moments in the arc. Was this moment where she just unleashed.
Before this clip is played,
Yeah.
I wanna say something.
Yeah, of course.
This was like one of the first times as a DM where I realized, shit, I gotta pick it up. This is I became like very shelled in. I was like, oh no, I'm being yelled at. But this is wait, hold on, chill out.
Please stop. I can't handle it. No, it's a tough situation whenever you get into a really emotional moment with a person in an RP situation. And
Kayla's
like,
such a good actress.
yeah,
She really is.
you can't help but sometimes take it a little personally. Like, I know there were times in Isles where she's talking mad shit to her mom, or Nalfien's talking mad shit to his mom, and I'm like, Kayla, stop being so mean to me. I'm your husband. So yeah, I mean, just for a little bit of context, in case you haven't seen this yet, Oberyn had, I don't want to say leading Yrsa on, but that's kind of what it felt like, because every once in a while Oberyn would show up while Yrsa was alone and be like, what are you doing? You know?
He
and
was
Yrsa
being manipulative for sure. He was
yeah. And Yrsa was trying so hard to try and affect him in a positive way. And at this point, I mean, this was after Gideon had died and he came back, and homeboy,
you guys were ready to attack Isle Blackmoor.
yeah, homeboy got the glicky here. He really got fucked up. All right. Lock and load. Here we go.
Why does it matter what I say? You've made it very obvious you don't care.
Chills already.
I love John's face.
So what happens next?
You tell me. You know everything, don't you? You're always watching.
Yes, something that you will forget often.
I haven't forgotten.
What is next as I wait? I await your arrival. Look at the chat.
I know, Rachel's great.
I wait here so we can finish what we started.
Are you happy?
I'm never happy.
My favorite line.
Same.
You have no idea what you have done. And you don't care. And I think that is what is most sad, is that you don't care. But what I find strange is that here you are. What is this, Oberyn? An opportunity to rub it in my face? That you've won? That you've broken me? That you have turned me into something that I am not? Is that what this is? Is that what you want?
Tell him, Queen.
Is that what drives you? Is just seeing people who cared shrivel?
Chip is still on.
If you know what we're doing, why bother?
You cared. You honestly
Chip
say
moved
you
to the other
cared
side of the
when
hat.
You plotted against me the entire time.
He had to get a better view.
I plotted to save you the entire time. Do not stand there and tell me that I did not. If you watched me, you would have known that. So do not stand there and belittle me.
Queen.
Yes, murder him
This
verbally.
is because of you.
I was getting murdered too.
This is
Oh, woo!
It's
Oh my
so
God.
That
good.
ages like fine wine.
Oh
It gets better
my
every time.
God. Woo! Now it is intense. So I
feel that.
you know, obviously don't want to don't want to speak for Kayla too much, but I think that Kayla is somebody who loves catharsis in theater and whatever media she's taking part in, and I think that was a very big cathartic moment for her and for Yursa. My initial thing for Rian, which is I I need to think on it a little bit more because I want to just go to chopping off Oberyn's arm. But there's better moments in the Oberyn arc. So if it's okay, I want other people to go and then come back to me.
I could go
Mhm.
because in the arc, I had less moments that I could, I think my favorite, and doesn't have to do with Oberyn. There's, well, oh man, now I got a few. Shit, I spoke too quickly. So
Spit 'em all out.
rapid fire. Dio and everything with that. That was very fun. And like being like so like Gak versus Umbra with Dio is such a different energy, and I love that. But I think the other one that I really, really enjoyed was confusing the fuck out of Joe and him being like, what the fuck is happening? Because I remember he messaged me and he's like, is Umbra mad at Rian? And I was like, I don't know. And so I think the payoff for that came technically after
Yeah,
Oberyn, we killed him and everything.
it's
so
literally
I
the
didn't
next
wanna
session. Because
That's
I
what
was
I
gonna
thought.
include it, but it's not part of the Oberyn arc, sadly.
It's not, yeah, and that's the other thing. If you're joining a new campaign, don't step on other people's toes in a big arc like that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it wasn't the right time for that. But it was fun to be able to like, within that, like another CD plot, just be like, what the fuck's happening there? That was really fun.
Yeah, Rachel, Nick.
I think my favorite moment for Gak during the arc, because I mean, part of this arc was also when Gideon died and was brought back to life. But there were two moments, and this had happened multiple times throughout the campaign at this point. But the two that stand out to me, when we were bringing Gideon back to life with Lady Gemcloak, Gak told a story that his mom had told him.
Oh yeah.
About the boy who could
Mm-hmm.
do anything and wanted to be up in
rope
space. Yeah, and Gak used rope trick. I think Rian was in the box, and Gak was like, "When I pull on the rope, pull me up." And it was like, so he could like do a like raise into air, for theatrics. But that moment I really liked, and that was just me improvising whatever I wanted to happen in the moment, but being able to like focus that through Gak remembering a story. And it was how I was getting around Gak having accidental wisdom. But the real moment I liked the most was the caterpillar story. And I love that it's stuck with Yursa. So much so that it's like associated with her now. She asks people this question to get a read on them, and
it's a running thing in the campaign.
Yeah.
Like, it comes up a lot.
Yeah, and it was just Gak trying to help Yursa make sense of people who don't want to change. And I think the only reason it really stuck with Yursa so much is because Gak had so much innocence telling that story that it like hit her in a way that it wouldn't have if someone else had told the story. And that's probably my favorite moment from Gak. Even though all the goofy stuff's fun.
Yeah, but
it's the thing that I love being goofy all the time, but that's what makes the like dramatic and serious moments hit harder, and that's why I like having those big drama bombs amongst the silliness. So yeah, mine's probably the caterpillar story.
I agree. Rachel, what about for you? What about for Basile?
For Basil, I think she had started really coming to terms with being the Raven Queen's mother.
Daughter.
And daughter. Sorry, guys, I just spoiled the ending.
Shit. I'm your mom.
And she felt this intense pressure to be a better cleric that, you know, she's like, there's literally no reason why I should not be good at this. Most of that is just her unrealistic expectations of herself, projecting on herself what she automatically assumed her mom thought of her, etc. And then when Gideon died and she wasn't able to bring him back to life, and she kind of felt like, you know, I'm just a freaking joke now. I can't even bring someone back to life, even though there was a good reason. He was literally Ash. But because she had those unrealistic expectations for herself, she thought, well, you know, I have my mom on my side. Maybe like I have this even stronger extra power within myself, and I should be able to do all of these things. And it was kind of like, I don't want to say, well, kind of a punch to her ego a little bit, but it wasn't in the sense of she walked around being all pompous. She was mostly just like, I should be this. I should be able to do this. And then just losing immediately and her mom not stepping in. That kind of began the whole journey of, I have to be better so that I can prove myself to my mother. And she's still trying to do that. You know, now it's like, instead of like, can you physically do this? It's like, why are you even here? Do you know what this religion is? And Basil's like, technically, but I think you have a different relationship with me than most temple priests.
Yeah, it might just be a little different. No, I really love that, because like that type of, and to a degree, everything that everybody has said here so far is this, but like as a D&D player, you there's this really popular ideology that there are two types of storytellers. There's architects, and then there are gardeners, and I've talked about it a lot. I really love it because I think it's so true. But as a D&D player, you really have to be a gardener. You cannot have anything pre-planned, because I mean, so much gets interjected in, and I think that everybody in Evrand has done such a good job with adapting and working with those seeds and helping them grow into these really, really, really beautiful, cool moments. But it's not just the player characters that matter. There are a lot of NPCs, John. Do you have a specific moment that's like was your favorite NPC moment from the arc? Whether it be Oberyn, whether it be somebody else, what are you thinking?
Dio.
Hey.
Dio is the obvious answer, but that's not it actually. Lady Gemcloak was
She's a great one.
One of those NPCs. I mean, she was introduced in the White Crest arc, but just having to be her, like, just as an NPC, I love Lady Gemcloak so much. And she's helped the party so much in this story. Always fun to be her. But, you know, Oberyn, I gotta go. Oberyn is, he's got a special place in my heart, even with all of the other villains I've introduced into the campaign.
Yeah.
That's why we're talking about this. That's why this is the arc we're choosing, is Oberyn was definitive. He was very fun to be. And you know, this isn't, everyone knows if you watch it, I definitely took some artistic liberties with the Castlevania story. And I possibly was watching Castlevania at the time, but
art is theft. You're good.
Yeah. No, Oberyn as an NPC is one of, before him, I've never had a successful villain in a campaign. Like true successful big villain. And he was the first. And just all the setup as well, from Willbrook just being this guy in a mirror that saw the characters inside of Kieran and Ophelia's, all the way to the end. Yeah, so Oberyn's definitely my favorite, and then Juniper the caterpillar.
Oh
yeah.
all the animals have a standout place in my heart.
Yrsa finding a caterpillar after Gak told her the story is such a fun moment in the session. Her just talking to a caterpillar, trying to make some sense of a story that Gak barely got through.
Thanks for subscribing, Maj.
Yeah, through the I forgot that I have the YouTube subscriptions also here.
Awkward.
nice.
If
I'll
you
die,
watch it.
it's okay.
Thank you. So, and I will say, just because Nick brought it up, the stories, I think that would have to be my favorite Rien moment from the Oberyn arc, because it is a combination of so many things I love about D&D and Evrand. I love the relationship that Rien and Yrsa have, and I love borrowing from real life mythology, and I love that it was used in such a climactic, emotional moment, to take the story of Sisyphus and to, kind of repaint it as like the struggle Rien went through. And I really, really loved that moment as a storyteller. So, speaking of stories, you brought it up, Nick, and I think we gotta listen to the caterpillar story, because it is just too sweet. Love it. And just so all of you know, we're going to watch the caterpillar story, and then we're going to do some rapid fire questions, boom, bop, bit, bop, blim,
right.
afterwards.
All right.
So prepare your mental state after this brief
I'm never
intermission.
prepared.
I'm doing stretches, brain stretches.
Yeah.
That first comment.
Perfect.
Basil telling Gideon about a time where she fucked bitches and got money.
It's so funny. How long ago did this video take place?
1 year.
Rachel?
December
What?
29th.
Just keep being you. Just keep.
Yeah.
Have I changed?
I'm like,
Am I still
that
the same?
comment could have been from any session, honestly.
Yeah,
so.
Listen,
I meant for the last one.
Rachel's consistent.
It's
Yeah.
consistency.
If I
She's
am
consistent.
nothing but consistent.
That is very true. That is very true. All right. And look, we get cosplayed Yrsa. Love it.
Hell yeah.
I think could I think it's kind of like this situation.
I'd love to hear it.
I don't remember any of the characters' names in the story, but I'll just describe it.
Okay.
So there was a caterpillar, and the caterpillar was, I don't know what the size. I was going to say it was big, but I feel like it's probably normal caterpillar size. And
I love how Gak tells a story. It's true ADHD.
And then it started to make
It's my favorite part right here.
Around it.
A cocoon?
Yeah. So it started to make a cacophony, and so it made it, and it built up, and it was inside. And all the other creatures in the forest saw it and said, it's going to turn into a butterfly. And they were all waiting for it to come out of the cocoon and turn into a butterfly. And it kept waiting, and it was still in that for a long time. And people started to go over, they started to talk to the cocoon, and they were saying, "Hey, caterpillar, it's time to come out of the cocoon. Time to be a
Hey,
butterfly."
caterpillar.
And
Hey,
the
caterpillar.
was like, "No,
Put that on
I
a shirt.
like being a caterpillar.
Hey, caterpillar.
I want to stay a caterpillar." And everyone was like, "But you're already already becoming a butterfly, so you might as well just do it." And he was like, "No, I want to be a caterpillar." So it stayed in the cocoon.
Some of your best
stayed
work,
there
Nick.
For a bunch of years, way longer
Thank
than
you.
it should. And eventually, someone said, "I'm gonna help it become a butterfly," and they broke open the cocoon, and out came a butterfly. And everyone said, "There it is. That's the butterfly. It's beautiful." But the butterfly was not happy because it wanted to stay a caterpillar. And my mom said that sometimes, even if someone should be a certain way and should act a certain way, and you would like to help them change, even if it's for the better, sometimes they don't want to.
That one
I
also
think your mom
ages like
tells
fine wine.
Very good stories, Gak.
She tells it better.
And I think that's my favorite part. She tells
tells
it
it better.
She tells it better.
Man, we should have had Mama Gak tell us the caterpillar story.
Well,
okay, when
right
we go
after
back.
that, he says like he tells it better, and he's like, if we ever meet her, we should have her tell the story.
Oh yeah.
And yours just says, I'll remember to do that.
We forgot.
She lied to
Thank
Gak.
God she didn't remember to do that.
It's the
It would- no.
BBEG, the most evil of us
What-
all.
What would have been so funny though is if Yrsa did ask Gak's mom, and then John had to go, well, there was a caterpillar. I don't remember if it was big. Like, he would have had to also remember it, so it would have been told the exact same way.
Probably.
All right,
That's funny.
here we go. You ready for rapid fire questions?
Yes.
Let's do this.
All right.
Yes, brain is ready.
Here we go. All right, we're just going to go down the list of questions that have not been asked yet. John, how did Oberyn fall in love with his wife? How do you meet and fall in love with his wife?
Shit. Castlevania, kind of the same way. She was looking for. This is throwing me off. The rapid question.
Match.com.
Yeah, it was Match.com. No. Oberyn.
Plenty of
She went to Isle Blackmoor, hearing
Mhm.
stories about Oberyn and his vast knowledge, and she found him, and they just kind of, I don't know, just kind of hit it off. It's exactly like Castlevania.
Lovely.
I just changed some of it.
Love it. All right, we're changing up the vibe since we're going faster now. Tavern music of Skyrim. All right. Okay, we asked the other ones from Ryan. What were Enid's thoughts the first few sessions? Felicity, did she want the money or did she want to stay close to Rian?
It was both. She wanted the money because she was a selfish, poor human being and wanted to get away with everything, and she wanted to confront Rian and get back at him for not being there for her.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Hate him.
Because emo.
All my homies hate Rian. Okay, before
Yeah.
Enid joined, did you have a favorite moment involving Oberyn?
Oh shit, that's a great question. I should have read that beforehand and thought about it. I mean, oh no. I really liked Oberyn in general. I thought he was a great villain, but I will admit, I really liked Wodale. Is that what it was? Willbrook? Wodale.
Willbrook.
Which one was it?
I liked his
It's
children.
harder than you think.
I will say I really liked his children. I was really invested in all of his kids. So that adjacent to Oberyn, I really loved how we got to know Oberyn through their eyes first, and great job.
Nice.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Nick, overall, how did Gak feel about the Blackmoor family? As a genuinely nice person, I'm sure it was hard being involved in a political assassination.
Yeah, it was hard, but he trusted his friends, so he was going along with it. He was very conflicted about the Blackmoor family. He really wanted to believe that everyone could be nice, and he was, because Eldar kind of stopped being a little bit mean, so he was like, oh yeah, there's no one that's truly just bad, right? Wrong. And that was a big maturing point for him.
So would you also say that's kind of his biggest takeaway from how he was affected by it?
Yeah, he knows that not everything is there's not a rubric for how to deal with people. You can't treat everyone the same way because they're all different, and some of them are irredeemable.
God, I'm still learning that. Okay, all right. Sounded really ominous, like I'm dealing with some really awful people in my life. All right, thank you. Rachel, with the Blackmoors being vampires, they were cheating death in a sense. Do you ever feel responsibility to the Raven Queen to kill them, even though there were talks of saving Oberyn?
So, it is kind of a hard question just because, there are victims who are vampires. There were a lot of horrible vampires that, turned other people into one of them, taking advantage of, humans who aren't as strong, weaker. So at that point, it's like, yeah, maybe technically they're cheating death now, but it's not something that they chose, So, there has to be some leniency, because I know that there's the idea of life and death. There's a lot of very strict rules that you
like
have
this
to go
guy.
by. Astarian. There's a lot of very strict rules when it comes to life and death, and Basil's just now learning that, but she's more interested in those gray areas, as we can see. So I think it shouldn't all be like an automatic condemnation thing. It's kind of like anybody, case by case. If you're a bad person, then smite you. If not, let's go our own way, kind of thing.
All right, last rapid fire question. Basil seemed very comfortable with Celia, or well, for you right now, it seemed very comfortable with Celia. What helped start that friendship?
So if I'm being honest, it wasn't really a friendship. It was more just like a flirtationship kind of thing, and at the time, Basil and Vey were kind of starting to get along more, and I guess it didn't seem so, but I thought that they were kind of similar.
Yeah.
They were kind of big party animals, and they liked to flirt and all of that stuff. And so Basil saw, Vey doing this, and she started feeling more comfortable. And I think she just, they're off at war. And, she found a cute woman, and she's like, I think you're cute. I didn't mean to hurt you with my holy blood, but please let the sentiment know that I would let you. So I wouldn't say it's a friendship. If they hit it off at all, it's just because they were attracted to each other, I think.
Shout out to Gemma.
Yeah, shout out to Gemma.
Gemma, my girl.
Bow, bow, bow. Okay, all right. We did that one, at least to a degree. Nick, this is a perfect question for rapid fire. With Gideon's death, was this Gak's first real encounter with losing someone close to him? How do you think it changed, Gak? Feel free to take your time with this one a little bit, because it's a little more delicate.
It didn't. Next question. No.
Okay.
It really it brought Gak to probably the lowest place he's ever been, but that I feel like compared to a lot of other people, he still found a way to be positive through it. And I think part of it is his optimism. He felt so down, and then he was like, we've done stuff that I didn't think was even real, so let's bring him back or something. Like it'll be okay. Whatever happens, it'll be okay. It's been okay up until this point. We'll figure it out. But initially it was shock, and it took him a bit to process all that.
Yeah, because, just as a quick side note, I remember that moment when Gideon turned to dust, and, the fight was over, and Rian and Gak were like, okay, everybody, we need to go. We need to find the things. And Gak was like, yeah, we do. We really do. And meanwhile, Basil and Yrsa were just like,
And then Dio ran down the stairs and was like, hey guys, how's it? Oh,
we killed the vampires. Oh, shit.
Back up.
Rip bozo. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, John, did Oberyn know about the conflict with the Demogorgon and the rifts? Has he played a part in this destruction, or was that completely separate? Will we discover more of Oberyn's evil deeds if they had an ongoing effect from Felicity?
No, he was not part of the rifts. He didn't know about the rifts, and he was not involved in any of the rifts with the Demogorgon. He was just technically Oberyn was a side villain to the main story plot.
Man, he was bad for no reason.
Well,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I know he was. I
Okay.
wanted to be an ass. So
nice. Okay, perfect. Great job. Me, from Felicity, what does Rian think or feel about the entire situation Yrsa was put through by Oberyn? I think that he was saddened by it deeply because he knows what it feels like to lose the one you love to senseless violence, but he was able to find a path back, and he thinks that it is truly saddening because he thinks Oberyn could have got better, but Oberyn didn't want to, and the fact that he led Yrsa on about it was very frustrating to him. Yeah, it made him so angry because she tried so hard. And Rian wanted him to be better too. Rian doesn't like killing people. Joe likes smiting. Rian doesn't like killing people. John from Nick. Question for you. You've mentioned that Oberyn is one of, if not your favorite villain you've run in D&D. How does this arc affect your thoughts about D&D and DMing?
Oof. Okay. Oberyn is probably still my favorite villain I've run. But Oberyn... Sorry, this is not rapid fire. Oberyn was like testing the waters with this group of how far I could go with a villain. And it really made me comfortable DMing. The Oberyn arc gave me the ability to kind of come out of the shell more and do crazier shit and go a little bit further than I would have thought I could ever do in D&D. So because of Oberyn, it's allowed me to create villains like Ishna, Braxicor, like these creatures that are just absolutely ridiculous and pure evil and stuff like that. So yeah, Oberyn definitely opened me up as a DM to be able to do more, and it also challenged me as like a role player. As you know, coming to the table, everyone here is great at role play, so I was like, well, I gotta step it up if I'm gonna be in this group. So yeah, so
I'm gonna be in this group. Yeah.
If I'm gonna be a part
You
of
guys
this, I
don't
need to
even
be
need
a-
me anymore. Figure it out on your own.
All right. From there, Felicity. We've talked a bit from Nick. We've talked about how Enid felt coming into the party, but I want to know what it was like for you to come into the party. You watched Evrand before you joined, and you came in the middle of an arc. How does Evrand compare to other parties you've been in, and what was it like joining a group you were a fan of?
Yeah, so it's kind of the second one I got to join as a fan of, because first it was Isles, and then I got merged into Isles, and then it was this one, and I got merged in this one, so I'll try and keep it brief. But I think the main difference for this one is this is the first world I've been in that's not Joe made for like a long period of time. And my other two characters of the other two campaigns I'm in are both smarty pants, and I know a lot about Joe's worlds. So I can like pull it out of my ass and be like, yeah, I know everything about everything, like I know history and blah, like. But here, Enid's dumb and Felicity's dumb. So I'm like,
no.
Thank you, Rachel. But I don't. What's so fun is the lore I am learning and Enid is learning, because I like the idea that it's been like culturally passive for Enid. You know how people live in America but don't know all the presidents? Me. Like, stuff like that. So that's Enid. And I think that's, for me, that's been really different and fun, because a lot of everybody here I've played with to some degree for like a decent period of time. So it was like the players and everything, it was a very familiar dynamic, but I think having a DM that does things differently, makes different calls, has been very new for me and kind of keeping me on my toes, where it's like, not that you're predictable, Joe, but like there's certain things that like I know maybe you would lean towards more of this kind of vibe, while like John is like, fuck that shit, we're doing this. Like I feel like, and I've said this before, which is funny because I feel like everyone feels differently. It's like I feel like it's everyone's like more snappy. It's like action packed, but it's also because I joined when we were like much higher level, so I haven't done the grind as much. So there's that too. But like for me, it's like Everett. I'm like every time I turn around, I'm like we're fighting some cool new big deal boss, and we're really saving the day. And then like in Joe's world, it's like doom. We're all going to die.
In Joe's world, it's like we're going to a Senate hearing of every person in the entire world, and it's so interesting.
This is painting with a broad stroke. That is just a general like you guys are both also very similar. So, but I would say just like learning the DM and the world has been very fun for me, and it's
Mhm.
been a really great time. And I hope that one day I can be a Evrand historian. So,
Mhm, mhm.
Ifera historian, yeah.
All right, wonderful. That one has already been kind of been answered. That one has been answered. Um, from Rachel for John, have there been a turn of events where the Evrand party chose to side with Oberyn? How drastic do you think the rest of the campaign would change?
Ooh, man. I think side is a strong word, but at least do what he asked you guys of.
Yeah, that's mostly what I
Um,
meant.
Man, so had you guys done what he asked you to, you would have went to Riffholk longer than you did in the campaign, because I think you guys literally just walked through it. It would have been a whole small chain of events where you would have had to track down the barrels of corrupted wine that were distributed through different wineries, find those, get rid of them, get rid of the evidence. It also probably would have gotten you into some trouble with the Valamine guards in the northern hemisphere of the map, because Oberyn was asking you to do it, silently. So you probably would have gotten into some trouble. How it would have changed the campaign, I don't think too much. I just think the Oberyn arc would have been longer. Obviously. I think you guys would have met more vampires too. There was one cowboy vampire in the Celia one shot that got killed. You guys would have met him, but yeah.
Damn. Rip that guy.
Rip that guy.
All right. From Rachel, for me, if we were to go back in time to when we first dealt with the vampire children and redid this arc, is there anything Rian would have done differently? Ooh, man. Truthfully, I don't know if there is anything he would have done differently, so to speak. Do you mean specifically Kyrian and Ophelia, or Celia and Gabriel, or both?
Just like thinking hindsight from how when we first started in Woolbrook, you knew everything that was going to happen. Would there be one big thing where you're like, we should not do this?
Oh,
to like
yeah.
either
Okay.
make it easier in the future for us, or like, was there not a mistake but something that you think we could have handled better?
I think that if hindsight knew everything, I think I would try and have Rian break the hypnosis on on Shatrine. The captain, Shatrine, the captain of the guard in Wobrooke, and then being like, listen, I know this sounds crazy. There are vampires here, and we'd like your help to deal with them before they have a whole ass party. And I think that, so that way it would have been more of a siege on the manor as opposed to a surprise attack, during the ball.
Could have also been in leagues with Ulfric.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point too. All right. So love the question. And I think that's what I would do, is I would try and make it more of a coordinated assault if we knew that she was being mind controlled.
Good idea.
That one's already kind of been answered. Nick from Rachel, Gak is the sweetest and most lovable person in the party. Hard agree. What would he have done if our group had decided to side with him instead of Eldon?
Side with Oberyn?
Same thing like John said, like if we chose to do it, Oberyn.
I don't know if, because there was for a while where we were considering trying to track down those barrels, because we thought the best thing to do would be to stop that from going out. So, I mean, I think he just would have gone along with it, because he wouldn't have seen it as them like doing Oberyn's bidding. He would have been like, yeah, maybe this guy can change, but we should get that stuff so it doesn't hurt anyone else.
Right.
If the party had decided to side with Oberyn, Gak would have left. But
Gak has abandoned your party. Yeah, we would have got that unfortunate notification.
A party member has currently left.
And Nick would have come up with a meaner character.
Yeah. Okay, well, wonderful. The last question from Ryan, and this one might be a little, it's okay, it hasn't really been rapid fire, it's been quicker.
Quicker answer.
So the question, this is not a quicker question either. What is the full history of Ulfric's Order and the Blackmoors? What started their conflict, and how long has it been going on? John, perhaps an abridged version?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll start this question off with a really quick thing. As a DM, you kind of create things in your mind and in your lore that is like maybe 45% completed. This is one of those things. But I knew in my mind that Ulfric and the Crescent Cabal, had run in with Kyrian and Ophelia before. A long time ago, in some place, Kyrian and Ophelia killed like a majority of the Brotherhood, and it was to eradicate them from the area because the werewolves were able to tell who vampires were. It's their mortal enemies, they're always going at each other. So Kyrian and Ophelia with some other vampires killed like half of the entire Cabal. Ulfric was one of the ones that was left alive, not on purpose. And then after that, Ulfric made it his mission to find Kyrian and Ophelia again and kill them.
Yeah,
that's the history of the two things. It was a assassination against the whole Cabal that started everything.
Oh, goddamn. All right. Well, thank you for the abridged history lesson. That is very interesting. All right. With that, our questions have been answered. We have talked thoroughly through the Oberyon arc. However, there is a final note that I want to end on, right? It's awesome to talk about the arc and everything that happened with Oberyn and the Blackmoors in general. But I think as we complete each arc in the Tales of Evrand, I think each one of us, even those of us who are more seasoned veterans of the game, there's something we learn. And this maybe is the educator inside of me who wants to hear this now. But from each of you, whether it be John, something you've discovered about yourself, about DMing, and for all the players, what's something that you have learned because of this arc in terms of approaching the game, how to handle a character, how to build a character? I think for me, this is not necessarily role play, but mechanically, I think that I underestimated for a long time how strong paladins truthfully were. And that lesson has been set straight for me. And I now know that paladins are probably one of the most OP DPS classes in the game. So apologies for that, John. So if you're looking to really one-shot your DM's monsters, play a paladin fighter multi-class and it'll be over. That's what I've learned. What about the rest of you? What do you think you've learned? Yeah, go ahead, John.
This is a little bit deeper, but it kind of goes back to the favorite villain. Prior to Evrand, I'd had very bad stints with previous players, kind of putting me down and kind of not being on the same page. Those kind of random Roll20 people you find. And I kind of lost confidence in myself as a DM. But because of this group, because of everybody here, I gave it another shot. And the Oberyon arc, like I said prior, it made me find my confidence again, and made me a better DM for sure. So the Oberyon arc is very special to me because I feel like I got my groove.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Hard to follow that, but I'll go.
Who's up next?
Mine's a little extended just because I had a shorter period of time in the Oberyn arc specifically, so it's kind of a combo of joining Isles and this one. But what I've learned is that people think like the fun is, or like the whole game and the fun is in the DM's hands, I think probably like right away, but it absolutely is not. The fun is entirely in everyone's hands. If you want to have a good time, or if you're not having a good time, it's because you're not engaging with what's at the table. Obviously, there's exceptions. You know, there's bad DMs, there's toxic players, there's people who like shame you for like putting yourself out there. But minus those obvious problems that could happen, if you want to have a good time, you have to be engaging with it, and you can't just go be a lone wolf. Like, be a part of the group, participate, listen to what's going on, the lore, and dive in, because that's where the story is, and that's why you're here, and that's why everyone else is here. So that for me has made me, I hope, a stronger player. I hope people feel like playing with me is a good time. So yeah,
It is for sure.
Yay! Thanks. So yeah, I'd say that's one of my big lessons of joining campaigns and stuff.
Nice. Nick, Rachel, what about you?
I'd say a big thing that I've started really enjoying as a player are repercussions. So, you know, sometimes when you're going through a campaign, you can feel a little bit unstoppable, that once you continue to go up levels, you're getting stronger, you have access to more spells maybe, or more movements. And being a good party and us trying to help other people, we do our best to make the best decisions to not have us get in trouble in the long run or have any repercussions. But I've really liked bringing this new element to Basil, where she makes wrong decisions, whether it's obviously wrong or it was, you know, well intended. Kind of like when she rose those soldiers up to help fight against the dragon.
Yeah.
That was ultimately a very bad decision. And she hasn't made a lot of bad decisions throughout the campaign. And I want to make sure that she can have this realistic element to herself where she can get in trouble. She's not unstoppable. She also has the boundaries that have been drawn for a reason. So it's been really fun to grow her as a character that way, because, you know, when you're in a campaign for this long, it gets to a point where you're like, what else can I do? You know, because you've already hit your backstory and everything. And so there doesn't need to be anything intense for the remaining of this campaign. A lot of it could be like, get your shit together, hun, because I'll take your powers away, you know? So that's just been a really fun and interesting thing that John has worked well with me to dive into.
Yeah, awesome. Amazing. Last but not least, Nicholas.
Yes. I think one of the things that I learned, and it was talked about earlier, but specifically in this arc, I've played characters that are not nurturing at all. I've played characters that are kind of thrust into fatherly positions without experience and is a nurturer in that way, but is kind of cold. Like, I've played a lot of different characters. With Gak, playing a character that gets to truly like be a nurturer to a group of friends has taught me a lot. Because I mean, everyone knows this. If you play D&D, your characters are all a sliver of your personality. And it wasn't until really the Oberyon arc that like I was able to channel the like optimism of Gak and see it come out onto the page, that I'm like, oh, I guess that is something I believe. Like the thing that I just said as Gak, that's a value that I hold, that I've always held, and I didn't realize it until I just said it right now. And it informs things about you based on what pops into your mind. The section of your mind that is this current character is thinking things, and it's revealing things about yourself that you never put to words. So the Oberyon arc did that a lot for me and Gak.
Well, amazing. I love to hear it, and I think it's one of the truest facts about D&D is it's so introspective and therapeutic if you just take a moment to take it seriously. It really can teach you a lot about yourself. All right, well, that's it. That is it for Party Thoughts. We have gone on long enough. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I know I did. It was it was a lot of fun. Stupid Discord for Windows. Now I have to buy a Mac. Oh, just for Discord. So, so thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to tune in. There is no Isles of Oberyon tomorrow. In place of that, I don't have anything going on. So I'm just going to be streaming all day, playing a variety of games, doing DM prep, making maps in Incarnate, just anything you can think of, I'll be doing. I'd love to have you stop by. If you need, it'll be prime second screen content. You know, do your own thing, but I'll be there. I'll just be hanging out with you while you're doing it. Be sure to tune into the Salamander Coast on Tuesday and the Tales of Evrand next Wednesday. Of course, sadly, there will be no Gideon next Wednesday, but we're diving into the plane of air. The vibes are different than Oberyn, but that's okay. It's a lot of fun. We just met the cutest little Aarakocra friend, and I'm so excited to get to know them more.
Is it a Kenku or an Aarakocra?
Is it which?
An Aarakocra.
I thought it was a Kenku.
It's not.
Well, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.